Caught wife cheating. I file for divorce. Wife tries to commit suicide. I will try to keep this short, but it's still long. My wife 34M and I have been married for 11 years. We have one child 6F. We have a large home. She makes more than I do, but we are typically financially secure. Our marriage had been going well with the usual ups and downs until the beginning of last month. My current job, which I took after being dismissed from my previous one when the epidemic struck, requires me to travel extensively. My wife was relieved since she had begun to grumble when she realized she was the only one working and I was doing nothing to hunt for a new career. I'd been gone for 2 weeks, and it was the first time I traveled out of town for work. I was fortunate and was able to return home 3 days early. I went to a buddy's home to pick up some flowers to surprise my wife. He's a florist. Only to find my wife in the kitchen putting her clothes back on, and my friend zipping his trousers. My heart rate fell and I felt dizzy. I couldn't see and felt like puking. I got out my phone and shot a couple pictures. I go back in my vehicle and drive a few miles away to reserve a hotel room. I contact my wife to let her know that I won't be able to come home for another week owing to work. Cheating has always been a turnoff for me. I know what cheating can do to individuals since my brother has been deceived on multiple occasions, and it has completely broken him. I call him and tell him everything. He is quite supportive. We contact his lawyer and file for divorce. My wife gets served a week later. My phone is inundated with messages and phone calls. I hang off the phone when she denies cheating and I provide her the evidence. She invites me to her house to chat. I forwarded the images to my parents and her parents so she wouldn't embellish the tale, turned off my phone, and decided to use my work phone. I turn it back on 2 days later and my phone is inundated with messages and phone calls from friends and relatives. I speak with my mother, who wants me to go check on my daughter. When I arrive home, my wife falls on her knees, weeping and pleading for forgiveness and another chance. She was a shambles and seemed to have not slept in a long time. I was having none of it, so I packed her belongings and evicted her from my home. I called her parents and asked them to come get her up. She spends the whole day weeping at my door, pleading with me to open it so we can chat. My parents pick up my daughter from school and remain with her for several days. My wife attempted to speak to me over the following several weeks. She would show up at my workplace, and I would find her at the door before I went for work and before I returned home. She's asked her buddies to attempt to talk to me. My parents were persuaded to take her side and asked me to at least attempt to speak to her. Her parents even came over and demanded to speak with her about how bad she is. At times, she would come with her pals to attempt to chat to me. I was determined that I didn't want to discuss the adultery or reconciliation. All I wanted to discuss was the divorce. Anyway, everything came to a halt for a few days until I received a phone call from my mother, informing me that my wife had attempted suicide. She was admitted to the hospital. Mom asked if I could go check on her since she attempted suicide because of me. When I arrive at the hospital, her parents refused to let me see her, particularly her mother, who stared at me with chilly eyes. The majority of her friends and relatives held me responsible. Since my wife continued inquiring whether I had come to check on her, the nurse speaks to them. When I go in, she instantly begins weeping. I felt bad for her and sad for her. She sincerely apologized. She said that she did not want to lose me, and that if I were not in her life would be worthless. She described the affair as the most dumb and selfish decision she had ever made. They had been having an emotional affair for a week before I left. When I left, he became physical. Everything's been 2 weeks since it occurred. So I urged her to allow me some time to process it, and I've been numb the whole time. She was freed and is now living with her parents, and I'm always keeping an eye on her. I'm not sure what I'm searching for. Maybe this is simply a rant. Story 2. My 33M, ex-wife 33F, who I divorced in 2018, is trying to ruin the first relationship I have attempted since the divorce by lying about how the divorce went down. I've been dating a lovely lady, 31F, who has been an excellent fit for me overall. In August of 2020, we began dating. I divorced in January of 2018 and took a few years off dating, went to counseling for a year, traveled till COVID struck, and attempted to better myself before entering another relationship. To be really honest, I cheated on my ex-wife after 5 years of marriage since we never had. Around the age of 24, I became active in a church and met my ex-wife. Within a year, we were married. She wanted to prepare herself for marriage. We did that, but even after we married, she was never eager to have intercourse with me. I was a terrible communicator, and instead of putting a stop to things, I was unhappy for 5 years before cheating on her. She informed everyone in the family, and every common acquaintance we had, and so on, and then I had to tell them the whole story and be humiliated / have my personal information out there. But in general, I have never had with my ex-wife, not even once. She remarried the same year we split, and I haven't attempted to contact her or anything else since. I thought we were over. We're no longer Facebook buddies or anything. Let's get to the point. I did fully disclose my previous adultery to my present girlfriend, and she was understanding, sympathetic, and thankful of my candor. However, my ex messaged my GF on Facebook. I'm not sure how she found her, and urged her to look out for my web of lies, and she told her a completely fabricated account about what transpired. She essentially claims that I denied her for years, and that she asked me for it on a weekly basis, and that I rejected her. It was actually the opposite. She said that after 5 years of denying her, I cheated on her. I own my errors, but she's selling a lie that casts her in a favorable light, while casting me in a terrible one. In this case, how do I deal with my ex? I blocked her on everything I can think of, and I'm not sure how she obtained my GF information. We're not even represented as being in a relationship on Facebook or anything. We have several photos together, but both of our accounts are highly secret. My GF has my back and believes me since I'm not displaying indicators of zero desire, and because I was honest at first. I'm simply curious how individuals have coped with snooping ex-lovers attempting to destroy their life in an era when it appears anybody can find out everything about anyone if they try hard enough. Story 3. My best friend, 16F, kissed me and I, 16F, froze up. We were simply messing around in her room since we lived next door. I was mocking her about soccer when she pushed me down on the bed, tickled me, and kissed me. I went completely still. I was completely unprepared for that. She pulled up when she noticed I wasn't reacting and asked me to forget about it and not tell anybody. I was still disoriented and didn't answer at all before returning to my residence. She hasn't spoken to me in 2 days. I can't get my mind off what occurred. I'm really sorry about freezing. I had no idea what to anticipate. I'm not sure how I would have responded if I had known she was going to kiss me. Her lips are really velvety. I've texted her that I'm not going to inform anybody. It broke my heart to see her apologize for kissing me. I despise seeing her beg and grovel for my forgiveness and the protection of her secret. I wish I had responded differently. I shouldn't have simply gazed at her face. I should have spoken or done something. I'm completely perplexed. A part of me wants to kiss her again, but a greater part of me simply wants to make sure she's secure and okay. I'm completely perplexed here. I need advice on how to cope with this. Edit. I emailed her saying I was perplexed, but she didn't have to worry about me exposing her or how this would affect our relationship. I told her that I would always be her closest friend, and that we could work things out together anytime she wanted to speak about it. She has yet to react.